seen those detective movies where like the mystery is just too big, too juicy, and then like the big guns and the big boys have to come out of retirement to go and solve it because like the conventional boys can't do it? Well, that's pretty much what this is. Animal Jam just released this new Arctic wolf statue, and it's like mysterious. It's like really mysterious. So I was browsing around on Animal Jam and I see this and I'm like, yeah, I gotta make a video on this. So here's my theory right off the bat. Here's what we got. The Arctic wolf is guarding the lines of power. But here's the best part. It's guarding the lines of power from Greely. So now that I've done my little hot take and just like thrown my idea out there, let's go ahead and dissect this a little bit. Let's start off with literally the first clue you get. If you enter the Temple of Ancients, the first thing you're gonna see are the notes in the ground. They're from Sir Gilbert and Liza, which makes sense because the Jama Journal did say that these were the two alphas investigating. So, the first is from Sir Gilbert, and it talks about how the three animals may have lived together: dire wolves, saber-tooths, and Arctic wolves. Well, first of all, we're going to ignore the fact that every time Animal Jam presents you multiple theories, the last one is always right. But we're really going to look at it logically and say, it just doesn't make sense. There's evidence to suggest that dire wolves and Arctic wolves existed together for about the last 500,000 or 500,000 years that the dire wolves had on this planet. But the saber-tooths don't really tie into that, and just like some weird archaeological connection isn't enough to warrant the entire just mysterious statue in Belush. I don't think that really works. So let's take a look at the second note. This one is from Liza instead, and it talks about how the Arctic wolf may be looking over the temple and all of Belush itself. So what does Belush have that is worth protecting? Well, the heartstone that used to be in there that you had to move across a river in one of the adventures. You can tell just by looking at it that this thing is valuable and powerful, but once you play some of the adventures, you realize just how valuable and powerful it actually is. In one of the most recent adventures, The Mystery Below, you actually use it to power an underground city and make these pseudo lines of power by connecting these like rocks to have moths power something. If you don't remember, that's the thing that Graham is like, this will never work because it doesn't have levers and buttons and I am 100% technology and have no character dynamic whatsoever. Anyways, my point is, this thing is powered by this stone. Additionally, the lost city in this adventure looks exactly like the heartstone that originated from Belush and was kept in the city. Does that not make you think a little bit? Also, in the adventure, they say that the city has been there for thousands of years, which means the city was occupied by ancients long ago, because like, you can't have a city if there's no one to build it. And what ancient animals do we have but the dire wolves and the saber-tooths? Like, it's pretty clear that this was a dire wolf and saber-tooth town. And anyways, the purpose of this secret underground city was to protect this stone. That's the reason that this city was so hard to get into, is because it is literally protecting the lines of power, and it's important to protect these lines of power and whatever powers them, because we know from that little info box that they are really powerful, and they can be either used to corrupt Jama or save Jama. So if they get in the wrong hands, that's pretty bad. And guess what? They are getting in the wrong hands. But before we get into that, let's talk about how the Arctic wolf ties into this. What does this mysterious statue have to do with it? Well, the answer is that it is so similar to the diamond wolf Arctic wolf statue. Now you see the position of the two is a little bit different, but what connects them is the way that the pattern of the lines of power shows up. Remember when the Eclipse opened up the Forgotten Archives in the Lost Temple of Zeus and like his statue came back to life and stuff? Well then, that was the first time we learned about the lines of power. But Club Geos turned into that little alpha headquarters thing. That power that changed it didn't come from Belush and the lines of power and the heartstone there. It came from Jama Township. Because you remember when Club Geos got changed and we saw those blue lines of power like oozing out of it? Those are very similar to the ones in the Temple of Belush. And they both just happen to have very similar Arctic wolf statues literally 3 feet away. Plus the spirit armor and the mystery armor both look incredibly similar. They look as if they are straight from the Lost City, like they are put together from the stone and the gems of the Lost City. I don't think that's a coincidence. Okay, so now that we know that the Arctic wolf is guarding over the lines of power, we have to ask, why is this coming up now? Like, why all of a sudden do we have to know that this Arctic wolf is guarding it? It's because someone is trying to steal the heartstone and control the lines of power. And like I said, I really believe that's Greely. In the adventure, The River's Heart, where you sail down that little river on the boat and you escort the thing, you're with Greely the whole time. And Greely hasn't invited any of the other alphas. He wants to move this heartstone on his own, won't tell you why, and just says we have to put it where it belongs. So you help him escort it down the river, and at the end it powers something up. But the other alphas come and find you, and he's pretty upset. And then there happens to be this phantom ambush, and all these phantoms come out and attack you, and Greely just conveniently disappears, and then comes back afterwards and says, oh yeah, I was like fighting 4 Phantom Kings, sorry, like you guys didn't see it, but I swear it happened, like hope you guys were all good on your own. Almost as if he had taken part in the Phantom ambush. So, not only is it very suspicious that he left for this ambush, but it's also very suspicious that he beat 4 Phantom Kings. Like, he never fights, he just kind of like snoops around. And so this is why Greely wanted to escort the stone down to the bottom, because he understands the lines of power, in fact, better than any of us. And how we know that is because of his hideout. He uses his hideout to research the lines of power. That's clear from the patterns on the floor. Yeah, there's the most obvious one, which is right when you enter, it's literally under your feet and impossible to miss. But if you change the flooring to certain floorings, you can actually see the lines of power throughout the den. Like, these are ingrained into the den. This is what the hideout is for, is to study these lines of power. And this is exactly why he's been studying the lines of power outside of everyone else's scope of influence, is because he wants to be able to use them for his own purpose. Whether that's to help the Phantoms, whether he's using the Phantoms to get his own objective, or whether he's trying to trick the Phantoms and acting as a double agent, we don't know. But what we do know is that Greely is not trustworthy right now. So what reason does he have to do this? And will we be able to stop him in whatever he's doing? We'll just have to wait until the next adventure to find out. And anyways, Beans, thank you so much for watching my little conspiracy. And if you have something to add, go ahead and leave a comment. Bye!